This is CarPlay. We're seeing it here in a Mercedes C-Class. The big idea here is to simplify and surface what your phone does. Your iPhone, any of the 5-class phones, 5, 5S, 5C, will work on this through their Thunderbolt cable, not through Bluetooth at this point. Let's take a look at what it'll do. First of all, obviously the big one, telephony and communications. And because this is a Mercedes, don't touch the screen, the Germans don't like that, everything is naturally controlled through Siri voice command.
With whom would you like to speak?
Call John Appleseed.
Calling John Appleseed.
And notice how that calling, as well as messaging, both SMS and iMessage, are done in an eyes-free mode. Siri in, Siri out. No text composition on the screen. Maps and turn-by-turn navigation are via Apple Maps, of course. And again, Siri-driven. And now in terms of media, it's not just stuff. There's also some podcasts you can bring in. Spotify, that's a third-party vendor. There's iHeartRadio from Clear Channel. And of course, there could be others. But I think the real power play here is the integration of iRadio, because the car is a radio environment. And finally, this is a bi-level setup. Here's CarPlay with the Apple world. Go to Command, which is Mercedes interface, and it's still there as well. I should also note you've got two voice command systems here. Siri, which runs the Apple layer. Mercedes voice command runs the Mercedes layer. So you've got sort of a forked approach of technology. Now, Volvo is also a launch partner for Apple CarPlay, doing things a little differently than Mercedes at a couple levels. First of all, they use touchscreens in Volvo cars, so that adds a third layer of interacting with CarPlay, not just by voice or control knob. Secondly, Volvo has more evenly integrated CarPlay. It's sort of at the same level as their built-in technology, where Mercedes kind of squirrels it away into its own little happy little ghetto, shall we say. It's an interesting point, because car maker by car maker is going to have to make that decision. How much do you have to dig to get into CarPlay? And when you are in it, does it relate to the other connected systems in the vehicle, or is it more off in its own silo? For its part, Mercedes is like every other car maker, not at all interested in giving up their prized center screen, but at least willing to sublet it.
We simply see people bringing their smartphone to the car. They rely on their smartphone on the daily life. They have everything on it. In the end, we will have both customers. Customers for the embedded world and customers for the, as we call it, brought-in world, where you bring in your device and couple it with a car.
Even Ferrari's in on the act of launching with CarPlay from Apple, and you may say, okay, well, I'm not going to buy a Ferrari, but it's an important indication of how companies that really don't specialize in cabin tech can leapfrog into the realm of those who do by partnering with Apple. And of course, it doesn't hurt either brand to be mingled together. They both love that about the deal. Where's Google, you ask? Well, coming, but in a different form, under the guise of the Open Automotive Alliance. Basically, Android in the car. Audi, GM, Honda, and Hyundai are on board, along with Google and Nvidia. So far, nothing tangible to show, but expect a similar path as CarPlay, but with Google having stronger services, and with Glass, which Hyundai and Mercedes have already shown working with their cars in concept form. Most recently, Microsoft joined this race, showing a very early concept of its technology through their Metro tile interface. Those live tiles they do on phones and tablets could either be a great single-glance in-car status screen, or just way too much going on. Then there's a wild card player that you haven't heard as much about. It's MirrorLink, a former Nokia technology, now more of an open standard, using existing technology standards like IP, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and USB to be able to bring up and translate pretty much any phone into any head unit. It's by no means the brand name that Android or iOS and Apple are. However, it's got a certain universality that might appeal to car makers. MirrorLink would seem to offer the most flexibility and the least adult supervision, if you will, over what the phone displays on the car screen and how. It's currently being pursued by VW, Honda, and Toyota. This is the first era when we've seen car makers and well-branded dominant mobile platforms come together in a way where you can actually tell what mobile platform it is. In the past, mobile services and phones were translated into things that were kind of Frankensteins on the dash, to be honest. And the timing seems right on another front. The U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is about to issue its first ever rules on portable device distraction in cars, giving these new integrations perhaps a whiff of government approval, if they do it right.